And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on a Wednesday. This has been a great week thus far. NHL, NBA playoff week, NFL draft week, and also fight week for Agoge Fight League XII. That's right. We're all live here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making this part of your day. So much to discuss, and we're all here for you. Kiyren McKee, Tayler Phanyoraj, and Chase Boley for Agoge Fight League XII. Fight week is upon us. I'm really excited about it, and plus the NFL draft. So there's so much to break down here tonight. Before we bring up our guest, one thing I do want to end up pointing out is I got a chance to talk with Corsley Edwards, and listen, I thank him so much for, getting me hyped up for the NBA playoffs, because to be honest with you, I was more excited for the Stanley Cup playoffs than I was of the NBA. But when I watched the game last night between the Sixers and the Celtics, many things are true. Number one is VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey are by far legit for Philadelphia. That's number one. Number two is you really got to be honest with a lot of these players that are on this roster for Philadelphia, because this is part of their build that can make them better. And because you've got two young pivotal stars, the last thing you want to do is you have at least one star that has not quite lived up to the higher expectation of winning a championship, because he's been dealing with a numerous amount of injuries, and he doesn't strike as the leader, the vocalist that could set the tone. And so watching those two last night and seeing as how you're facing Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and that entire Boston Celtics team, who I still believe will walk away with a series, but Philadelphia's got a very good cast. And the last thing you want to do is not build around it and find yourself far behind. So I think Philadelphia, they got a lot to work with, but it's been great for playoffs thus far in the city of Philadelphia, and we'll see what happens with the Eagles during draft night. But the Flyers have been playing great, and for the Sixers, even if they lose this series, I don't think it's something that you should honestly hang your head on. Nick Nurse is a really good coach. I think more than anything, the front office really needs to come to those decisions, because Joel Embiid is getting up in age. And I think in the same instance, I think for a couple players, Paul George looks like he wants to be there. So there's a little bit of tweaking going on with the roster. So I think for the Sixers, this is by far the best performance that they've had. Really was excited with how this all started out. So, yeah, I think, to me personally, I think the NBA playoffs, been watching a little bit of it, great stories. And I also do think, we'll see what happens with the Spurs, but without Victor Wembanyama, that might get a little bit of a kink in the armor for them. But De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, a lot of these youngsters, they're going to be just fine. Now, they may get through the series, but they may not end up getting further into the playoffs. So I think the Spurs will be fine, but they may not get far. But I still believe Boston to walk out with a series. I think there's a lot to really discuss as far as the builds for some of these teams. But I think with Philadelphia, you've got a great chance to building a brighter future with these two, with VJ Edgecombe and with Tyrese Maxey. I would not waste my time with, other things other than those two who can really become difference makers. All right, so joining us, and of course with Fight Night around the corner this weekend, Agoge Fight League XII, we have been so gracious enough to have had all the best names on this fight card. It is stacked. Really excited about it. So joining us, they call him Wally Dean. Kiyren McKee joins us on the program. It's fight week, Kiyren, and I know you got a lot on your mind, and on top of it, lots of training, lots of preparation. What is kind of raced through your head, in the next couple of days and couple of hours as you prepare for Agoge Fight League 12? Because there's lots of it training, dietary, and then not to mention kind of studying your opponent in some ways to really prepare for the fight and what's to come.
Yeah, man. It's really not been too much to think about. All the work's been put in, you know what I'm saying? We finna have a fun part. Basically, these last couple of days, it's the weight cut, just getting that weight cut down, make sure that's right, you know what I'm saying? And just locking in on the go, you know what I'm saying? It's time to go.
Right now, like looking at the fight cards, because this is going to be an exciting fight night, and especially with the best promoters there with Chuck and Steven, they've done a fantastic job putting together the fight card and the event and making it a more entertaining and family friendly place, And so when you think of, fighting for Agoge, like many other different promotions and different leagues, what makes Agoge so special in your heart to where you're there, you're showcasing yourself, you're competing, and then what it truthfully means when you mix faith, family, and fighting all in one place, and especially here in Agoge?
Well, I'm a big family oriented person, you know what I'm saying? This honestly what I do it for my family, my mom, my son, family and friends around me. So to know just talking to him on the phone, I can get the sense that he's the same way and just him breaking that down to me, you know what I'm saying, means a lot. But you know what I'm saying? I'm excited just to be the main event again. I know Tennessee showed me some love back when I fought in Jackson. That was pretty cool, you know what I'm saying? And for them to request for me to come out there again just shows they watched me and they appreciated my skill out there and what I did. So I definitely appreciate that. And like I said, I talked to him on the phone. We had about a good hour conversation, man. He's a good dude, you know what I'm saying? And I just liked how he talked, man. Like I say, he sounds like he's a family oriented dude too, just like me. So I'm excited about it.
It's funny as I talked to a couple of some fighters in this fight card, and we're stacked up even for tonight's show as we get ready for the weekend. But your opponent, as you're fighting up and into the lightweight championship, this is going to be a good one because this is the featherweight. Okay,
Featherweight, yeah,
my apologize.
Yeah.
So in the featherweight, this actually. This has been right now kind of the most showcased amongst all the other fight cards up and into this one. So, when you think of with this bout, I mean, you're on a 3-game heater right now, and you're looking to capitalize. What does it take to kind of keep the consistency going? Because sometimes it can happen. You get in streaks here and there, and then you find ways, to keep and continue on it.
Shit, just through the things I've been in life, man. I think a lot of things come down to your mindset, man. Just how much you believe in yourself, no matter first of all how much you believe in God and how He got you. You know what I'm saying? And then secondly, self belief, man. I think God's got me through everything, and secondly, just my self belief. You know what I'm saying? No matter what people seem to think about me, whether it's good, bad, what positions I've been in life, and just my self belief in myself, my skills. You know what I'm saying? It's my mindset. I think that's not just set apart from my skill set as far as in the rings, it's my mindset, just where I lock into and just know my capability. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the whole world can be against me. And I just get to myself and think, man, fuck them. Excuse if I'm, you know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but hey, it's time to prove them wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I'm excited about this dude. You know what I'm saying? In this game, I feel like you got to keep getting pushed and fighting better and better competition. You know what I'm saying? If you want to elevate, especially with me planning on making my pro debut later on this year after this one. Just sitting back watching him, his skill set definitely he got the possibility to be my toughest challenge. You know what I'm saying? My last two dudes I fought was pretty tough. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the grappling aspect. You know what I'm saying? But this guy's striking is pretty good. But we come up with a game plan, and the people I train with, man, is dogs. Caleb Woodside, fucking just all types of people. I got dogs in the gym, you know what I'm saying? I got Nico, Xander, you know what I'm saying? Who else? Sean Woodson. Just got all types of people I'm in the gym with. Ethan Ray, just dogs, man. So when I'm finna step in and face with him, it's nothing different when I see in the gym.
Mm-hmm. I tell
And,
you,
oh,
like,
I can't forget, man. I left one name out somehow, Abraham Yoser, man. You know that dude right there. If you ain't hip on him, go pay attention to him. That dude's up next, man. Just came off an 8-second knockout. when I say fucking just the time and the effort he puts in, not only to himself in the game and the others, man, he's gonna be a great fighter and a great coach. So yeah, I'm just in the gym with all dogs. Malachi, just Sam, just man, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night, and especially getting a lot of the experiences and the training with the best of the best right now, in the
Yeah.
MMA world. It's a lot of fun. And, I mean, I have a good friend of mine that fights in A1 combat, and I remembered him being in wrestling out of high school, and he ended up fighting out of Uriah Faber's gym.
Yeah.
So to getting the opportunity to get to the next level, it means a lot. It means a
Yeah.
lot for these guys.
And
And so
I'm gonna cut you off. My coaches, man, I got some mop. I got Mop Jitsu, you know what I'm saying? Cody Kellison, two very declarated jujitsu specialists, you know what I'm saying? So they've definitely been locked in with me, getting me right. D-Ray. That's another one of my striking coach, Josh Caputo, getting me right on the boxer, you know what I'm saying? I'm set pretty much all around, man. So, it's pretty much anywhere you look as far as the game I'm developing. You know what I'm saying? I got the right tools and people around me.
I'm curious, where did Wally Dean come from? To wear,
So,
to kind of wear it. Like, where did that originate from?
so it was an attribute given to me when I joined Islam, you know what I'm saying? When I transitioned over. Just from who I am, if you knew me, man, like I said, I'm a very family oriented person, just who I've always been. I'm a protector, and the Wali, that's what it originally started as. Wali, just people calling me Wali, just a protector, guardian, whatever you may be. You know what I'm saying? Then I had people adding the dean and go as far as a protector of the religion, you know what I'm saying? But it all boils down to my personality. And if you know me, just being a brother, a friend, teammate, I'm just a protector, you know what I'm saying? So
I like that. I absolutely like that. I think it suits you well, and especially with how you carry yourself, your character, and what you do on and
yeah.
off the ring. Like it's mostly important. And so I love that. I love that origin story. So, well, guys, if you want to get more out of Kiyren McKee, definitely check him out at Agoge Fight League 12. Also this weekend, make sure you end up getting ahead of the game when it comes to the ticket sales, because that early bird special is not early for long. All right, so it'll go back up to $40. Check it out at agogefightleague.com
Yeah.
and check out Kiyren McKee's profile as well to keep up with more of his story and the up-and-coming fight. Good luck to you, Kiyren. Best
I
of luck.
appreciate
God
it.
bless you, man.
Thank you,
And
man.
let's see what happens, man. I think it's going to be a great night in Tennessee. And I've never been before, but it's on my list. And I know they want me to get up out there, but eventually I will definitely come out, show up, and definitely show a good time.
Well, I definitely appreciate you having me on here. This is my first little interview I've done, you know what I'm saying? So it's an honor to be on here and you doing it with me. So hopefully this weekend, hopefully I am, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to show up and perform, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. And you know what? With the show being on up and on Roku, iHeartRadio, and even on our radio networks in Atlanta, people down south, they're going to want to come up and they're going to want to enjoy a great fight card this up and coming weekend. So good luck to you, man. Best of luck. Get well rested and prepared. And we'll see what happens, and we'll see how the outcome comes out this weekend.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
Absolutely. There you go. It's kind of interesting. You think about, when with all these fighters, it's amazing. It's amazing with what they put their bodies into, and with training, dietary, but at the same time, like even in this weight class, more agile. I would also say, built for speed. There's lots of things that you can honestly really look at that just makes you think, like, my goodness, like this is incredible. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good fight. They've been showcasing it all throughout all the fights that we have this up and coming weekend. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a great time. So, to kind of getting into the hockey playoffs, because here's the thing. I mean, I'm watching a lot of these teams. Pittsburgh right now finding themselves up and into a deficit, but we also know too, they're not completely out. But Philadelphia, the Flyers have been playing their best hockey. They've been physical. I would also make the argument that they have they've really struck offensively And that's where I think the Flyers, what a big turnaround it's been for them. In the last few years in their front offices, it's been kind of difficult. And, you're trying to find the coach. You're trying to revitalize this roster. And the minute that they do that, it really has changed. It's turned around. So I think it's been quite a remarkable turnaround. But we will say, though, the Penguins, they're not quite, the team that's easy to beat. So there's lots of different things that can happen. And yeah, I do believe, though, it'll be competitive. And right now, I know the Penguins had just recently scored, but this has been a really good start for as far as the first round. And the fact that it's the Battle of Pennsylvania in the first round just tells you a lot about how great the rivalry really, really is. So yeah, I'm excited for Agoge Fight League 12. Really want to thank a lot of the promoters, Chuck and Steven. Amazing work putting these fights together and bringing in all the best fighters amongst a great stacked night. So there's lots to really look forward to. If you're there in Tennessee or even up in the Atlanta area and you're looking to travel, coming up to Nashville, check it out for yourself, Agoge Fight League 12. So this is going to be interesting. I got Adrian Hamilton, former linebacker, joining up and onto the show. But looking at draft night, and here's what I know thus far, is 5 teams, as we mentioned before yesterday on the program, 5 teams with 2 or more first-round picks. These are roster shakeup type of picks because it could change a lot. Now, Dexter Lawrence, as we know, traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Giants now have 2 first-round picks at 5 and 10. The Jets, of course, have 2 first-round picks. The Cowboys have 2 first-round picks. The Chiefs have 2 first-round picks. So anything could truthfully happen. And I know I've got my mock drafts that I'll be finishing up before we have the big night tomorrow night. And I will be going live. And it's going to be a fun night. So, but the thing is that when I look at the teams that do have 2 or more first-round picks, my big takeaway is when you address these, one of them is bound to become a big hit, and the other one may not be as big of a hit. But and that's okay. Usually this does happen. But I'll make the argument for the Giants, it would feel like they're doubling down on defense. I think for the Jets, they definitely would want an offensive and a defensive player. Or maybe they go defense all the way around. But it does depend with the first pick that they have and the second pick right after the Raiders, because it feels to me it could either be David Bailey or it could be Arvell Reese. But with Aaron Glenn's style and what he's trying to focus on is going to be the defensive side of the ball. And I mean, I would make the argument too that I think with the Jets, they have at least the growing pieces to make the offense better. Now, I would also say you want to have a really good number 2 next to Garrett Wilson, because there's parts of it that doesn't always, pan itself out. So I think to me, it's also pretty remarkable with how some of these teams, I mean, you could tell what they need to address just based upon what didn't work for them in the last couple of years. And all I know is that I think how the Jets could go about this, you get an edge rusher. I also do think that if they get a receiver, will it be Denzel Boston or Carnell Tate? It's going to be one of those receivers. But, I mean, I don't really see a Mekhi Lemon really work with this, because I think you already have a really good wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, and all you need is a really good pair. Now, they did lose Elijah Vera Tucker to the free agent market, but that's the stuff that really changes. So I do think that as we kind of go along with the draft, these picks are going to be so important. The Chiefs, for the last couple of years, have not climbed up into the first round for very long. So now they got the 9th pick, and then they got closest to the end. So they could make different moves with that. And the Chiefs would want to address offensive line. They would want to address the secondary, maybe even a safety or a corner. I would even make the argument an edge rusher could also be another thing on the back of their minds. So there's lots of this that you can argue are really good game changers and game shifters. And I do think that as we get closer to this, it's going to be a fun night and definitely lots of shakeups. I got a bunch of friends of mine going to be up and in Pittsburgh that I know they're saying, and even with what we saw from Joe Schobert yesterday, is it's going to be quite the night, and you're in a place where the atmosphere, it's classic, and Pittsburgh, there's lots of rich history there. So this draft night is going to be incredible, and I do think there's going to be a lot of different moves. All right, we're going to take a slight break up from here. When we come back, Chase Boley around the corner, and then Tayler Phanyoraj is going to be joining us here up and on the program for Agoge Fight League XII as we keep the party rolling. And Adrian Hamilton, former linebacker, going to be joining us. We'll talk more about the draft and what we should expect from a lot of other teams as well. Well, folks, we know right now in the United States that one cause in the States is lung cancer. And what is that linked to? That's linked to nicotine that not only can it get to your brain, but it also can affect your lungs every time you take a breath. And that's cigarettes, that's vaping, and that's also with chewing. Messes up the mouth, messes up the lungs, and can very much mess up your brain. And here in Colorado, they passed a law to where they are trying to outlaw vaping amongst teenagers. And it's crazy how the market has literally gotten into this space. Well, there is a solution. And a company out in California who not many people know too much about, but packed with longer lasting flavor with the nicotine kick to slap your cravings every time it rushes to your brain. That's Slapple. Comes in 6 different delicious flavors: watermelon, sour apple, pineapple, peach, you name it. All of your best flavors just by going on to slapple.com, link into the description to get your 40-pack in a tin can and giving you the extra boost for you to quit. Having a hard time slapping the cravings? Slap it now with Slapple Nicotine Gum.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
All of the very best amateur fighters, when faith, family, and fighting in one place comes together here at Agoge Fight League XII. That's this Saturday, April 25th. Get your tickets today at the Putnam County Convention Center in Cookeville, Tennessee. You do not want to miss it. That's at AgogeFightLeague.com. Tickets available at fightertix.com/Agoge. So, Dexter Lawrence now a part of the Cincinnati Bengals. I was talking about this for a brief stint last night, but to kind of break down the trade itself, I think it was a good trade for both sides because now the Giants have 2 first-round picks, and Dexter Lawrence now gets a 1-year extension on top of the remaining 2 years he currently has. And what the Bengals, let's start there. Cincinnati is doing Joe Burrow all of the wonders and favors right now because Joe Burrow, the minute that he put the ownership and the front office on blast, and as he's out there enjoying himself before training camp reports, this is important for Cincinnati. I mean, you had Joe who went down with injuries, and this defense, not even close to where it's supposed to be. And I would make the argument with Dexter Lawrence there, this helps out with against the run because they had no answers. Don't talk to me about, Trey Hendrickson being that big impactful player because let's be honest, Trey only predicated himself to accumulating pressures and getting sacks. If you asked him against the run, that the percentages on PFF have been terrible. And you could tell by the way in which the scheme fit is put together. So now, with Cincinnati having Dexter Lawrence, this now allows for the defensive front to take a reset and figure out a way to stop the opposing run. And this also allows for Shamar Stewart, who did not have much of an impact last year in his rookie season, to now be able to get out of his own head and be able to produce solely in the pressures he's going to get now. So, and the Bengals could very much address an edge rusher a little bit later on. But they feel like with Dexter Lawrence, he's worth a first-round pick. They give him a year, $28 million extension on top of the $18 million he's getting paid twice. So 2 years, $18 million each year, he's getting paid for until the big cap hit. So now for the Giants, they got 2 first-round picks. And what I've been talking about, and even with Mark Collins and a bunch of others, is the Giants could double down on defense because we know with John Harbaugh, he wants to run the football. He wants to get physical on defense. But we know the secondary has not been as great. We also know that because of the overloaded cluster on the defensive front, it also hasn't been able to produce as much. That's why Dexter Lawrence didn't quite have the season that he had this past season because there was too much clutter. I would also make the argument that the injuries piled up, but still there's a lot to really look at and how they can revamp this, reshape it, and that's initially with what the Giants are going to do. So to me personally, in the first pick that they have at number 5, do they trade maybe back one spot to value more of their pick, even at linebacker, for example? Because I do think Sonny Styles, I mean, if you end up getting him in the number 6 spot, I think that's a better value and guarantee if you were to make that move. Because I think for the Titans, they got a lot on their plate. They could either get a running back. The Cardinals, too, have been talking about Jeremiah Love. David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Reuben Bain. There's so many other different options. But at least at the linebacker position, do they address it the very first, Or do they maybe move back and maybe do a couple of different shifts here to try to accumulate more picks and more value? So I think Sonny Styles would be the perfect pick up and at 6 if they move back. But again, if they pick him up and at 5, who are we to basically judge with what his progression will be? And then the 10th pick, because they had a hard time on the secondary, that's where you really got to address it. And I do believe Mansour Delane would be the answer, because now you're going to get a corner who at LSU, he does a lot of the body of work, a lot of the man-to-man. And I do believe that with his talent set and where he is, he's a shutdown type corner. So I think this is fascinating for what the Giants could potentially do. And that's one of 5 teams with 2 or more first-round picks. And listen, we've seen this before with teams. When they have 2 or more first-round picks, that ultimately tells you that they're trying to reshape a roster. It's a new regime that they got at head coach and a different philosophy. And the Giants are trying to revamp a culture that is broken, that was wonky, and I think it was embarrassing how everything, came down all at once. So there's that there for you. Now, who knows what the other 4 teams may do as far as addressing the 2 first-round picks they have. But I think it's fascinating because you look at the Cowboys, and we'll talk with Adrian Hamilton about what Dallas would need to do, because there's been many speculations, because if there's Sonny Styles has been a name they've talked about. They've even talked about Peter Woods, maybe a couple of other players. But Dallas really has to nail this draft, because they're known for building their roster through the draft. This is why that they barely pay some of the spots that they tried before and it didn't quite work. But it is part of the build and part of the reason why the Dallas really has to figure this out. All right, so joining us as we continue with Fight Week at Agoge Fight League XII, Chase Boley joins us here on the program. As you get closer to Fight Week, Chase, because there's a lot that kind of runs through your mind. You're training up, you're kind of getting yourself mentally prepared, and especially against your opponent, like there's a lot that goes through to you. What's really been the focus mostly? I mean, it's been a lot of training. It's been a lot of techniques. What has been the main focus leading up to Fight Week here as we get ready for this weekend?
So the main focus for me has just been working my distance and keeping my teeps and just working anything with the distance, just keeping them at range. That's really my main goal, because I've had 2 different opponents. So that's just been my goal here mainly.
I've mentioned it, and we've had the pleasure of having a lot of these fighters, especially in this fight card for this weekend for Agoge Fight League XII. And I appreciate the opportunity from Chuck and Steven to be able to interview all of the athletes, including yourself. What does it truthfully mean fighting for Agoge? Because we know that faith, family, and fighting come together in one place, where it's an action-packed and family-friendly environment, and where it's a best night, even if you go into an amateur, type of MMA event, and even when we all kind of watch the UFC, what does it truthfully mean fighting here in Agoge specifically?
So with the Agoge, the main difference between the Agoge and any different other promotion is Steve. Steve takes care of the fighters no matter what. He always puts the fighters first. And like you said, faith, family, and fight or whatever. But he loves it, man. He was a fighter himself, and he knows how it is. He knows what it takes to be a fighter and what it doesn't take to be a fighter. And he's always got our backs, number one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great night, and the fact of how stacked it is right now, there's lots that could really come out of it, and something we never even expected. So, as you train and as you kind of did a little bit of studying with your opponent, in your weight class, I mean, what's kind of the more primal focus when you think about, okay, I got to look at really study up my technique. I maybe have to work a little more strikes. I got to work a little bit more on grapples. Like, what has been kind of the main focus for you that we may potentially see and showcase as we get a chance to watch your main fight here in this fight night this week?
So with the 125ers, we're pretty light. So we like to throw a lot of combos, man. A lot of combos, and they're gonna be fast. And we're talking about 5 rounds. So I hope he did his cardio, man.
Yeah, man. At that, and it's interesting because even at that weight class, I always consider this where you're more agile. You kind of got a little more energy to where you're moving around. It's a lot of cardio as well. So in your previous fights, when you look at this, I mean, I think the striking is one of the importance, but I also do think the incredible portions is really the grappling, kind of getting yourself into situations where if the opportunity presents itself, strike forward and go for it, because that may change every time in a situation during the fight, and you've only got few amount of rounds and you got so much time that you have to really kind of figure that out. So, even if it becomes a close enough fight, what are the kind of the things that race through your mind that even if it goes all the way to the end and becomes, now a voter's decision, how does that really impact? Because I know there's lots of things you're looking for. And even when you find yourself in a position where it's crunch time, we got to find a way to get the points and find a way for us to win this fight up and into the end before the voters count.
Yes, sir. So with me, I'm 3-0, and all 3 of those has been by decision. So I know, like, I don't ever go out there and just try to knock someone out. I go out there and pepper them up, and I look for the decision win, honestly. And like I test their cardio. That's the biggest thing, and that's going to be the biggest key in this fight.
Yeah, I believe it too, because especially if you're going the distance, it's going to happen one of 2 ways. It's either you're waiting for that opportunity that maybe becomes the icing on the cake, or you're kind of giving it your all. You both are basically kind of going to war up from here until the very end, and then it's like, man, I hope I got the edge up and on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be interesting between you and Cecilio. I think it's going to be a great fight. 125. Like I said, maybe we might see a lot of grapples, lots of different movements, but I think it's going to be a great night. Appreciate you for coming on by here, Jason. For anyone that wants to check out more of Chase Boley's profile, just go up and on to AgogeFightLeague.com. Check out their social medias as well and follow more with his story as he gets ready against Cecilio in his fight card here at Agoge Fight League 12. Appreciate you. God bless. Enjoy it and good luck, because it's going to be a long night from here on this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do believe, because even as you look at different weight classes, there's lots of things that run through your mind. And at the same time, I do love a lot of like what the preparations and even the overall training, what it takes. For me personally, like, it's a lot of different movements. It's a lot of different moving parts. So I do think that, even for Agoge Fight League, I mean, I really appreciate them for getting the chance to interview a lot of these great athletes and a lot of these great fighters and putting together a show and putting together a great promotion. But it's not solely about trying to put together the great promotion amongst all the other promoters out there around the nation, but it's solely about what it truthfully means being a fighter and fighting here at Agoge. And that's what I loved about it. When I came across these guys, I loved everything that they stood for, and I loved everything about what they're targeting and their objective that they're going for. And that's what I absolutely love about Agoge. So this has been great for the last couple of episodes. And to be able to interview all these fighters has been amazing. So I was thinking about this. Adrian Hamilton around the corner. So Major League Baseball, it's been great thus far to start with, as we're almost close to ending the month of April and we get ready for May. We know for some teams, it's been a really hot start for them. They've been kicking it up and into gear. For others, not so much. And one of those teams in particular is the New York Mets. We knew coming into the season, it was going to be a lot of drastic changes. The obvious one, no Pete Alonso. So there is no room for a home run hitter to basically change up as far as their offense goes. So they're already missing that. But I got to be honest with you. The minute that they've got Francisco Lindor and out of Cleveland to come to New York, they've only been in the postseason a couple times. The farthest they've gotten was back in 24 against against the Dodgers in the NLCS. I mean, even with that team, like, there was some competitive drives. The team itself, I think as soon as they got into the NLCS, you knew that them and the Dodgers, they were two powerhouses in the NL, and the Dodgers were the one team that came out on top. And faced against another team in New York with the Yankees until they won the World Series. So for the Mets, this has not been good. And looking at what they've produced thus far in the season, because pitching has not been great. Kodai Senga has been getting lit up, and Francisco Lindor, not quite, the player in which that he should be. So this is already becoming a problem in itself. But as you look at a bunch of stats up from here, and this is only just the start of the season, but I look at from the pitching with their ERA, it has not been great. They have been giving up a lot of runs. So for the Mets, their ERA is at 4.10, and they haven't been able to get out of certain innings. And the guys that they brought in, Luis Robert and the rest of them, they've been hardly have been clicking and hardly have been scrappy to produce the runs. Their batting averages this year as a team is at the Mendoza line at 222. This is not good. And because these bats haven't been waking up, the pitching has been fighting tooth and nail to at least allow themselves to really make an argument to compete. But we all know it is the start of the season. It's 162 games. They've been on a 12-game losing streak. But this is also part of why New York sports, they have no time to clown around. Because you already know the Yankees with their offense and how things have been rolling. Like, I still question the move with Trent Grisham and Jason Dominguez. I don't understand why that with Jason Dominguez not being on this roster, I don't get it. There's lots of things in New York sports I don't understand. I mean, this has been outside of the Islanders, with them now having a new coach. I think there's a great future, especially with the new youngster in town in Matthew Schaefer. He's been fantastic. I couldn't believe how big of a drop-off that the Rangers have done to themselves. And I thought with Mike Sullivan there at the helm, this would have been different. But I think time's calling. Then the Jets now having 2 first-round picks, the Giants having 2 first-round picks, and then you got the Nets. So, yeah, this New York Mets team, what a disappointment to start with. 12-game losing streak. They can't get themselves out of certain situations, and neither can they really get the bats rolling in some of their situations. And that's something you cannot have. I know, being early on in the season, everybody's all like, don't be panicking. We're not quite there yet, Jake. I get it. I understand. I get it. So it's just some of those things that you really have to be aware of. But I am a firm believer that lots of New York radio has been saying, don't give up on this team quite yet. The thing about this is that the Mets just have to find something to really shape this up. But it just hasn't been a great start thus far. It's actually kind of interesting because the Chicago White Sox, some people don't quite take them as seriously, but I think a lot of the look of this team is going to change. And this was arguably one of the close to the top's worst teams next to the Colorado Rockies. And even the Rockies have been playing some decent baseball. But the Chicago White Sox have taken a different turn. And I think a lot of that is because of some of the players that they've brought in. They're 9-14 right now, 3.5 games back from the Central. But I got to tell you, Munetake Murakami that they sign, boy, is he fun to watch. And and right now, when you look at the international poll and you watch a lot of these players, Munetake Murakami, don't be surprised if he's an American League Rookie of the Year. Batting .234, homers, and 17 RBIs. And the thing about it is that the White Sox have been trying to build through their farm system, really turn around their organization. And it takes a little bit of time, but I think they'll be in good hands. Colson Montgomery, I really like him, but there have been some teams that you already know has been pulling off some surprises. But, I mean, the Marlins have had the best start in 17 years, and a couple of these guys, through and through, have been really good. So I think with giving this time and giving it for what it is and how this has really turned itself around, I think it's been really remarkable. But for the White Sox, it's going to take them a bit of time. Murakami, I really like him. I think he's the future of this. Many people believe he may not last being a White Sox for very long, and I get that. I understand this one wholeheartedly. So, yeah, draft night is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for the NFL draft tomorrow. We've been working on our mock drafts, and I really do think it's going to be full of surprises. So this actually had just broken out here earlier today. And listen, for college football, because it's classic. And to me, when you get a new coaching regime amongst arguably the greatest coaching regime that we've seen in the sport, and Alabama, we knew was going to go through an entire coaching regime culture change. And just after 2 seasons, Alabama and head coach Kalen DeBoer agreed to a 7-year contract extension that's worth $87.5 million. So for many people who felt like Kalen DeBoer would not work in Alabama, you cannot rush certain projects. You just can't. I mean, people are thinking it's ball or bust in Alabama, which, understand something. Yes, the expectations, because of how high that they've been since Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, it is difficult to really turn the leaf for fans who come with the expectation of, we're going to the bowl, we're going to the playoffs. It's really difficult. And listen, Kalen DeBoer's first year was rough in some areas. But a lot of that is because, one, he did not have the quarterback that he had, that he wanted, at least up and into his system, until he got Ty Simpson. Because Jalen Milroe was more twitchy, more athletic, but at times didn't quite have the pocket awareness and the confidence to sit in the pocket. He was just too agile. And that wasn't quite Kalen DeBoer's scheme. If you watched him in Washington with Michael Penix and other places where he's developed quarterback, he likes the ones with pocket awareness, likes them where they're accurate, and finds a way to distribute the ball. So with Ty Simpson last year, because he had 3 games where he threw for over 300 passing yards, and where he was throwing it to, he was distributing the ball everywhere. Now, Ryan Williams didn't quite have the best season last year, but that didn't mean he didn't produce. It just kind of felt like he was going through growing pains. But Alabama, they understand and they realize that this is not the similar regime, and this cannot be the similar mentality as far as bowl or bust. Because this past season, they made it to the playoffs after last year where they embarrassingly missed it and wasn't quite prepared. So now DeBoer, who's been here and has a 20-8 record, and people that scrutinized him, look at this. You got to give this thing time. This is not instant rice. It's not mashed potatoes. It doesn't often come out, and it doesn't change overnight. And Kalen DeBoer, like taking on the challenge, replacing Nick Saban, who had retired in January of 24, it was difficult. It's very difficult. But Kalen DeBoer, at least here in the college world, he's a smart coach. He knows what he's doing on offense. So this whole thing of Kalen DeBoer is never going to work it up in Alabama. Well, now having a 7-year deal, what does that tell you? Tells me that Alabama's bought into it. And all it took was Alabama and its fans to basically kind of sit, swallow their pride, and understand this is a different regime where it's only going to take X amount of time. That is it. So I will say what a turnaround it's been for Alabama and even for Kalen DeBoer. I mean, you come into a situation where it's not as easy, and how you address it with as far as the recruitment side, the transfer portal. They do have 2 quarterbacks with Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, who they're going to be battling it out for the starting job. But there's lots to look forward to up in Alabama. They're in good hands. They got a very good coach that can compete. Yes, there are different shakeups in the SEC, including Florida and Auburn. But that doesn't change what Alabama has stood for years, and especially in the landscape of the SEC. We know the Big Ten is much more physical, much more competent, and in the last couple of seasons, because I think with the NIL and whereabouts you're hitting the pipelines, it's allowed for teams like Indiana, Michigan, Ohio State, and all of them to really attack the portal, but it's also allowed for them to go and get the top best prospects in their recruitment pool. So Alabama and everyone else in the SEC, they know this change is happening, and they got to find a way to get ahead of the curve. It doesn't take overnight for this to happen, but it does show that you need competency, and it does show that as long as you have the right coach and you've got the right pieces to do so, then Alabama is still going to be the team in which that will be competing for the playoffs every year. There's no reason that Alabama should not be in the playoffs. No reason at all. And I like Kalen DeBoer. And it took a bit of time for people to really understand what's truthfully happening and how they can overcome that, close the book on history, and start a new chapter. This was a culture shock in itself. So, but now with the 7-year deal, Alabama's going to be fine. Sure, it may have come off a little bit just as a weird shocker to people, but Kalen DeBoer is right for Alabama. And someone who does know this program very well and knows exactly the pipelines. I mean, he took it on. First year missed the playoffs, but second year rebounded, got better, made the playoffs, and won a playoff game. And by the way, being at Washington and already having a national championship appearance really tells you just how good of a coach Kalen DeBoer really is. And all it took was needing to get his quarterback. That's why when you look at the NFL, 65% of the league whiffs on quarterbacks. In college, it's classic because there are thousands of different quarterbacks all around. And you got to find them. And that's all it took. So, yeah, Kalen DeBoer is he's going to be just fine. I am not worried about how the state of Alabama is going to look like in the next couple of years because they're going to be just fine. They'll be hitting up the recruitment portals and the transfer portal. I have no doubts. And neither should any of you either. So, yeah. Draft night tomorrow. Lots of different moving pieces. I'm excited. But this should be a fun night. This should be a fun night for everybody in Pittsburgh. Alrighty, folks. We're out of here. Really appreciate everybody for jumping on by here up and onto the show. Draft night talk. Tix.com/Agoge. And check out all of the fighter profiles that we have showcased here up and on the show at AgogeFightLeague.com and also on their social medias all over. Shout out to Kiyren McKee and Chase Boley for coming up and onto the show. It's going to be a great night. Enjoy draft night tomorrow. I will be live exclusively on Millions. So definitely check out my profile and get a chance to check me out on the live stream as we go through pick by pick. Take care, everyone. Enjoy it, and we'll see you guys on draft.